because part of what, as a pastor, I knew many of these individuals would be community. They would need to find other people who were like themselves, dealing with the same questions and answers, wanting to know what to do with this new reality in their lives. I also began holding meetups in my church of individuals who wanted to talk about Jordan Peterson. One of the things that I discovered in talking to people and also going to these book tour events was that people could go to the book tour and listen to Jordan Peterson ramble on about what he does, and then they would want to talk about it.
We're going to devote our energies to sports and gardening, all the cultural pursuits as far as they're concerned. In fact, we're going to put the goons to sleep. Meanwhile, we dig.
Greetings and welcome to the Anadromist. This is Burn Power, your host du jour on another fine day here in Tbilisi, Georgia. And what we have is another edition of Anadromist Dialogues today. And we have two people, Matthias Bergmann from Germany and Cassidy Poling, who's actually in Arizona as we talk, but she is essentially moved to the Netherlands. What we are doing today is a little different. Usually we just have a discussion with somebody, but today, while we will be having a discussion, our discussion will be about a specific event coming up in Germany in late August, something that you, if you're in Europe or plan on being in Europe in late August, might consider being a part of. It's a conference for the Bridges of Meaning as a part of Paul VanderKlay's Estuary project. And I'm not going to explain what all that means right now. I'll let them explain it. But this is part of the move to take what we've been doing online with dialogues among different people in this little corner of the internet, to bring something into reality, because it's nice to have dialogues online, but if these dialogues don't result in more community, more art in the real world, more discussion face-to-face, they've essentially missed the point. And I know that to me is very important, that we have these things. So, without any further ado, Matthias Bergmann and Cassidy Poling.
Okay, so try it again. So with me today, I have Matthias Bergmann from Germany and Cassidy Poling, who I guess, have you relocated to the Netherlands and are temporarily in Arizona, or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, technically I've moved, although still working on some visa stuff, but all of my things are in the Netherlands. So
okay.
I count it as moved, but in the US temporarily.
Right. So the reason I have them both here today, besides just saying hello, is that there is a conference coming up in Landau, Germany, and I'm going to let Matthias explain what it all is in just a moment. And it's the Bridges of Meaning, and it's being held in the small town of, it is a small town, yes? Landau?
It's about 50,000 people, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry, but by Alaskan standards.
It's a small town, yeah.
So yeah, I like how over the years the concept of small town has changed. Small town used to be like under 10,000 people, and now small town is like under 100,000 people. Like, that's a small town. So, but Matthias, this is going to be in August, the 26th through the 28th. There will be events. And I'm going to let Matthias explain what it is right now, and then I'm going to introduce Matthias and Cassidy to you. And we're going to talk more about what the Bridges of Meaning is, and also related to that, the estuary idea. And then we're going to talk more about the actual conference. So stick around. Meanwhile, Matthias, tell us about this conference coming up in August.
Yeah, thanks, Bern. Yeah, well, we are hosting this event called Bridges of Meaning Festival from Friday 26th to Sunday 28th of August. And it's, as Bern said, it's in Germany. It's in Landau, which is in southwest Germany. And basically it's a 2.5 days festival, which starts on Friday and the main the most important things about it is that we have speakers, for example, Bernd Power and Paul VanderKlay, for those who know him. And it's basically, it's a community based event built from the Bridges of Meaning community, and we will go further into that, what this community is about. And it's also we have a concert on Saturday night, and we will have campfires in the evening and a lot of time to connect. And also between the speeches, we will have a lot of small group discussion possibilities, and that people can really connect with each other. That's basically, these are the most important points. And I don't know, Cassidy, maybe you could also add something.
Yeah, it's sort of part conference where we have speakers and live podcasts and panels, but it's also really about community building. The festival is sort of birthed out of an online community built behind Paul VanderKlay, and there's just a big movement to take that and put that into the real world and connect with these people that we've met online. So this is sort of one of the few types of events around the world that are happening. And so we really want it not just to be about coming and learning and having conversations, but really building community and fostering that and allowing that to grow into a reality, in reality, outside of just the internet.
Yeah, and I find that that's the most important aspect, that we take what has been happening online, which there are many good things, and we'll discuss some of that, but really, if everything just stays online, it just kind of is this abstract thing. And it has great meaning insofar as it goes, but to bring it back into reality so that it can actually have an effect upon the different lives we all lead in some small way. I think that is an important thing. Matthias, how did you first discover? Well, tell me a little bit about your background, spiritually, intellectually. How did you discover Paul VanderKlay's channel? And go on from there.
Yeah. Well, I live here in South Germany near Mannheim, and I'm 38 years old. I work in project management. I'm a family father, and how did I discover this strange corner of the internet? That's a very good question. I think it was through some lectures, and interestingly, some lectures on a biblical topic, which is kind of interesting because I never was interested in the Bible or anything or Christianity like that since my teenage years. And there was this strange professor on YouTube, John Peterson, and he had this series called Psychological Significance of the Biblical Stories. And somehow I think through some podcasts, I found this series and I watched it, and it really grabbed my attention. And from there on, yeah, I was more interested in this topic and found other podcasters, for example, Paul VanderKlay, who commented on the series and on Jordan Peterson's work. And this is how I found him, and around him evolved this community. And it's really the Bridges of Meaning community, or the Estuary community, is really this open conversation where you can just lurk around and see what other people are doing, but you can also actively participate, make own videos, or discuss in comment sections. And it's an interesting bunch of different people. You have atheists, Christians, some Jews, and you really learn about those different wisdom traditions in an active way. Like really, it feels like you're entering your story, and for the first time you're taking these things seriously and seriously thinking about these things. And that's really interesting and fascinating from my point of view.
How did it happen with you, Cassidy? How did you end up getting connected to all of this?
So it started with a recommendation from a friend. So I was attending an evangelical church at the time. And in the last years before I started attending that church, I had gone through a deconstruction phase of trying to question the sort of evangelical Protestantism I was given as a frame growing up, and deciding, is it true? And how do I know? Can I believe it? And eventually sticking with Christianity, but having trouble feeling comfortable being back in a church and wrestling with the questions of what that meant. And a friend of mine, we were having a conversation about that. And he's like, have you heard of Paul VanderKlay? I was like, no. And he's like, you might not like him, but you should watch him. And started watching his videos and was immediately hooked. Just the way Paul took all of these different ideas and culture and different ways of thinking, and seeing a pastor being open to talking about these things and sort of meaningful way, and that kind of drew me in. But then I kind of stuck around when I saw his conversations of talking to random people and being very open to hearing their perspectives and having sort of that ear to listen to them, not placating his own beliefs, but not putting them down for having a different belief, and just a really open exploration. And through that, eventually got connected with some of the people he had conversations with through email, and eventually they started the Discord. And I'm not much into social media, so I was a little hesitant about it at first. What is this? I don't know, but started jumping into voice chats and hearing these really interesting people talk about really interesting conversations.
Well, maybe you can both explain more of what what happens on the Discord server, how people get involved with that. Or now, is the Discord server thing, is that the Bridges of Meaning? And is there a difference between the Bridges of Meaning and the Estuary? Maybe you can both discuss that for a moment or two. I don't take part in that as much. I've got a fairly active life, plus I have a lot of videos to make. And
it's a commitment to be a part of something like that, because it's very time consuming, and it takes some time to learn it. But I can start, and then Matthias, I'll have you kind of bounce back and cover what I missed. But yeah, Bridges of Meaning is the Discord community that the sort of Estuary group at Paul's church started. So Joey is sort of the leader of it, but he started it to basically get the people who were interested in Paul's content and Jordan Peters a place like around the world, a place to talk about those things, and eventually start sort of small groups or estuaries themselves. And the estuary concept is hard to completely explain, and it's still sort of developing, but the way I always kind of describe it, it's finding places, sort of neutral places where religious and non-religious people can come together and have good conversations about big questions, and sort of not only test theories and try to understand different people's experience, but learn their stories and let that fuel the understanding of what it means to be kind of human. And for myself, I see it as sort of a bigger movement than just Paul, but Paul definitely is a big part of that.
Well, the Discord server was originally for gamers, right?
So yeah, Discord itself is a platform that was designed for gamers, and for people who don't know what it is, it's kind of like Slack for personal use. And so it started and developed for gamers, but eventually kind of got adopted by a lot of different groups, particularly like new media YouTube groups. But even organizations are starting to take that on now. I was part of a film festival back in December, and they had a Discord for all of the filmmakers who were a part of that festival as a way to kind of get them connected. So it's gaining more traction outside of just gamers, but it was particularly designed for gamers. But it's been particularly useful. Go ahead.
Explain how it actually works. That is to say, you can talk to each other, but not everyone talks. Some people are in the chat scroll. Maybe give some of the details of how that works.
Yeah, so there are text channels, and you can if you start, anyone can start a server, and you can design it however you want with text channels and rules and what have you. But there are text channels, but there are also voice channels and sort of video channels. So it's particularly useful in this type of environment when you're trying to engage in sort of big questions, because it's not all text-based communication. Like, people are actually talking back and forth live, and there's a lot more of an ability to understand tone and context in a long form conversation as opposed to quick text bites, which I think is the powerful thing. I don't spend much time looking at the text channels. I spend more of my time kind of in voice channels, having conversations live with people. But yeah, Matthias, you might be able to add to that too.
Yeah. Well, I think it's basically it's a closed online forum where you can control, like, you have a link you can share, and you can decide yourself, do you want to share it publicly, or do you want to invite only entrants and stuff like that. So you have control over that, and you can, as an admin, you can rearrange channels and stuff like that. So for that, it's practical, but basically you can think of it as an online forum with useful functions. And I myself, I use it. For example, we have a channel there, German language chat, and most of the people are from the USA or Britain or stuff like that. And since I opened this German language chat, a bunch of other people who were lurking only before showed up because they found their language, so to say. And we have one channel where we can share text in German, and we also have a regular voice chat. So you can use the voice chat. Like, the voice chat channel is in the server, and you see if someone is logged into the voice chat, and you can just jump in there and talk to him. So it's a spontaneous thing, but I also use them with fixed dates where we have twice a month, we have a voice chat for the German community, and it's announced, and people know, okay, on this day we will meet and talk.
Do you have any idea how many people are in just the German wing of this Bridges of Meaning?
Yeah, well, I think about 20 people have this tag. We have a German language tag, but some of them just show up once and are leaving then. So it's somewhat arbitrary, and some people have more commitment than others. We also have here in Mannheim a local group which meets once a month, and this group is about 6 to 8 people. And some of them don't like Discord, so they don't like the online thing, but they like the in-person thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So
yeah, and we have like a map. We have a map too, and it's kind of outdated now probably, but where people can ping themselves on the map to say, this is where I'm in that area. And so there are some people who will put themselves there, but there's a lot of people, if they don't report where they're from, we don't know. So there's a good amount of not only Germans, but Europeans who are active and known to be in that area, but there's probably a lot more who haven't disclosed that information.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems also like it isn't just people from the Paul VanderKlay channel, but it's also, it'll include some of the people with Jonathan Pageau or John Vervaeke, I don't know, myself.
Exactly.
But and I'm sure there are others who have smaller channels You could list the various people who have those little.
For example, Cassidy has her own channel.
There you go. I have actually never seen it. So
it's not very big.
Right.
So that's probably why. But I mean, I started my channel kind of out of this, and that's what I've seen by a lot of people too, where you're having these conversations and all of a sudden it kind of moves you to start creating and putting things out, because it's better to put it out than get it stuck in your brain. But with people like Andrea with the bangs, who's sort of an active participant, Sam from Transfigured, he has a channel, and we spend a lot of time conversing with each other and sharing those conversations, and it's been cool to see how people have found those to be helpful.
Yeah, also known as Sam the Heretic.
Yes.
But that's what I like about what Paul started with, these conversations with people, is that you get people from radically different, sometimes really radically different kinds of points of view, but they all focus on meaning, and they focus on trying to understand where we are today in today's culture. And I even started my channel. Well, I have another YouTube channel. I actually have 3 that people know about, and one that I've been putting many videos up, but nobody knows about it yet. And but it's not the same kind of channel whatsoever. It's more of an artistic channel. But my first channel was just documents related to my journeys in puppetry and other kinds of cultural forms, just documents of interviews, and also just something that, like I say, it's pretty much all documentary. So then I watched Paul. I'd seen Jordan Peterson, and then at some point I typed in Jordan Peterson and Christianity, and Paul comes up. So I then was watching Paul, and I said to myself, oh, between Jordan Peterson and Paul VanderKlay, I have tons of stuff on my mind. And I'd also done lectures at L'Abri, and I said, I might as well join in, make my own channel, which, it's not huge by YouTube standards, but it just cracked 2,000 people. So I'm, marginally proud of that. I'm more proud of the fact that anyone's paying attention at all to what I'm saying, because I always just consider that to be, it's just nice to know that some of my ideas won't stay in my brain before I die, because I have a lot.
By the way, Bern, I got several responses now who say they will come specifically because of you to the conference. So it will be interesting, I think.
Nice. That's good to know. So maybe you can explain how the idea came to where it seems like there's been more of an increasing emphasis growing within this internet community, the little corner, it's often called, of the internet. I always go like, yeah, it's a little corner, but there are no walls. And to get it offline and to get more, well, I guess that goes back to Paul, doesn't it? Because he's had these meetup groups for a long time about Jordan Peterson. But where did the idea for the conference come from? Either of you?
Well, it's interesting because this year it seems several people had this idea. I mean, partly it's because it's more possible now because of the restrictions that fell, right? But I think it's also, Cassidy, you also said this at one point, that it's online, it works somehow, but it's not really sustainable in the long term. And it's also, if you meet in person, it's a different kind of thing, and it's important, and we need it as humans, I think. And I mean, this community somehow, I think, started. Yeah, it started online, but then they met at Paul's church, and from that experience, they said, okay, we have this group now. We meet once a month. It's so meaningful for us. We have to get this concept to other people. And that's why they started the Discord server, right? So the idea was from a physical present group, and it went into the Discord. And yeah, maybe that's also why at some point people said, okay, we have to get into real life more again. So yeah.
Yeah, I think the Discord from its inception was always meant to eventually branch out and create little pockets of this type of participation in real life. It was never meant to stay with the internet. But when COVID happened, everybody got locked down. And I think it gave it a certain life because we were all trying to answer those meaning questions and didn't have a lot of place to turn. So the online format kind of gained a popularity and it gained a helpfulness. But I think the more that the regulars have participated, the more we recognize there's so much good that can come from an online participation, but there's so much limitation. And the benefit of taking that outside of this sort of digital world into the reality where you have some skin in the game and it feels like you have more to lose by that participation is also ultimately going to be the thing that's the most sustainable and the most beneficial and impactful, I think. So I've been wanting the conferences for a long time. Before COVID, we had talked about them, and I was living in America at the time. So I had talked with Sam, who just did one meetup in Chicago, about how can we do this? How can we move forward? And moving to Europe, I thought I'd have to put that dream on hold. But then Matthias came out with his idea for the festival. And I jumped on the bandwagon to help. But he can probably give you an idea of why this festival specifically sort of sparked and what his mission was for that.
Yeah, I mean, it happened somehow like many things on this strange journey. It's not like, okay, one day I got this idea, okay, let's do it, make a plan and execute it. No, it was more like it emerged somehow. And I mean, you talk with so many people and you hear so many people and you somehow get to know them, but you don't really know them because you only see them online. And that's, I think, why I came up with the idea, okay, why we don't meet in person. And we had an in-person meeting last summer in Germany where I think 8 to 10 people showed up and we just did a hiking day and we had a guided tour through a medieval church in town. And so we had already a meeting, but I think what we want to do with this festival is, in the server, you go into the server and you have different topic areas and you have different chats and you can pop in. And I think to get this experience into real life is the idea. And I was looking for a place, and in Landau, the Südstern Cultural Center, I thought was a good place for that because they have the space, they have different areas, and you can really do different things. And they also have this intersection between society's questions. They want to be a place for community for all people who knock on their door in the local town, and they also have this connection to Christianity. So I thought it was a good place.
Yeah, I actually have thought, I'm involved with puppetry and such, and one of the reasons that I'm involved with puppetry, among others, is the fact that it's tactile, that it's real, that although you can watch puppets on a screen, it's not the same thing as being in a room or being in a place where you can have these real physical interactions with art. And I've become more interested in dance and have made friends with dancers here in Tbilisi, Georgia, for the same reason, because dance, you can watch it on a screen, but it is in no way the same thing as being in the room, where a dancer is, doing a movement you can't imagine doing yourself, saying, wow, how does this person actually do this? And I think as we go forward into the 21st century, the counterculture will be the physical culture. That is to say, it'll be the material, it'll be the arts that this is one reason why music is having a lot of problems being relevant the way it was in the 20th century. And that is that it was a live medium for a long time. It became too involved with amplification and eventually videos, and with all of which now it's just something you download or you stream, and you're walking around with this thing in your ears, and it becomes your personal soundtrack. And that has taken it completely out of the same kind of meaning. Not that the music is bad, there's still great music being made, but the meaning of it within the cultural context is really different. And I think, and the same can be said with a lot of course, movies and such. And we've seen this weird sort of stratification between, what is a movie or cinema or film these days? Well, you've got these big blockbuster things happening in theaters, and then you've got, someone making something, smaller things, streaming things, all of this. And some of it relates to what we're doing here, and some of it is just, again, adding to the layers of mediation and abstraction. And my feeling is that we, people thinking about these things, really need to push back to get people, for instance, there's a lot of discussion about the environment. And my feeling has been for quite a while, most of the people talking about the environment don't even own any land or have a garden or anything. It's just like we live these abstract lives. Even people who are traveling all over the world, they're just skimming across the surface of cultures. And I think we have to stop and put roots in to understand how to deal with the physical reality of the world, which is going to end up being our central concern eventually here. And I think even with the recent Russian-Ukrainian situation, a lot of that came because people, in America, we're all like glued to this thing. And, everyone's got their little screens and stuff. So they didn't realize that, oh yeah, there are still big geopolitical forces out there that can turn everything inside out. And because people don't think about the outside world, they're left like, oh, well, what is this? But I think one of the things that COVID did for us is it did facilitate more meetings like this, but it also facilitated a desire to get back out into the real world among, not everyone, but among many people. I think that's one of the reasons Netflix is failing right now. The other reason is just way too much politically correct garbage that doesn't tell good stories. But the point is that a lot of people are saying, I got to get outside. I got to go somewhere. I got to go traveling. I got to touch wood. Yeah.
It's very interesting being part of an online community where it's really felt, where you see all these benefits from connecting with people all over the world, and the way that it opens your mind and gets you engaged with things you never could before. But then it's also this weird thing where it's not quite real either.
Right.
It's very odd.
It is. So, Matthias, why don't you start off by telling us about, who's doing more of the scheduling? And
well, I think at this point it's the two of us.
Okay.
And I started this whole thing, but Cassidy is really, she's really experienced also with festivals, because I think you do comedy festivals a lot of times, right?
Yeah, for almost the last 5 years now, I've been working on a team doing production for comedy festivals. So it's been a skill set that I've gained, and I've been very eager to put it into action in this little corner. So Matthias graciously let me smuggle into his idea, but it's been fun to kind of work with him, and it's definitely his brainchild and his baby, but it's been fun to support it and help it come to life and find structures and use what I have gained through event and live event production to help this become successful.
So I'm going to let you two talk right now for a while, and I'd like you to explain the the actual what is going to happen, you can go into as much or as little detail as you wish. That is, you don't need to do every last thing, but what you're hoping to happen. It's 3 days, but it's not 3 full days. It's the second half or the evening of the first day, the 26th, and then it's all day on the 27th, and then most of the up until the afternoon, late middle afternoon on the third day. So why don't you explain what a person could expect if they so chose to be in Europe at the time, or to come up from, there might be people, I have people ranging all over Europe who follow my channel as well. So you never know who might decide to come up. What would happen? What would it be like?
Yeah, I don't know, Cassidy, could you run through the program on a high resolution scale or low resolution? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. So there is sort of 3 kind of different types of events, I would say, that you can expect to experience. There's sort of lecture type events where you're hearing a speaker or a YouTube personality to come and talk about what they want to talk about and give a lecture or a, even a sermon about the thing that they think is important and is worth talking about at that conference. And that suits sort of our vision for the events and what we hope to get out of it. The second half is sort of panel or live conversation sort of entertainment. So we'll have a community panel for Bridges of Meaning people who have been participating to kind of express what Estuary has done for them and what the benefits they see. I'm going to be doing a live podcast with my friend Sarah. She is a person who's been around the Bridges of Meaning corner, but she's a theology student, and she's just a very interesting person. So I'm eager to share her story and her knowledge and have a conversation about that. But we also have built in sort of unstructured events that are community building oriented. So we have some breakout groups where you're going to be participating in an estuary type experience and having conversation and engaging in a more structured form. But we're also having unstructured events like bonfires and a concert to help create that community and make people feel like they're building something outside of just sort of going to learn. Because I think you said it really perfectly about art earlier, where there's so many people who I think it's a two-sided problem where they aren't thinking enough and don't know what to do, but then there's people who are thinking too much and don't know how to participate. And so finding a space to have good participation and just an opportunity to do that like in live without screens is something that I think is super important. But yeah, me and Matthias keep joking it's our little version of Woodstock with far less drugs. So
hopefully.
We hope it'll be fun. Hopefully, yes. Do you have anything to add about that, Matthias?
No, I think you mentioned the important things. And I also think that in the Bridges of Meaning, there are also some of those people who think too much and don't participate enough in the real world. So I think, maybe those should come as well. You know who you are. And what else? No, I think you said it. And one thing we also thought on Sunday, that there should be a possibility for people who want to start their local in-person groups, that they can sign up on a list, or that they can connect on a local basis if they want to start a group in their local area.
Mm-hmm. Also, why don't you explain?
I think that's something.
Why don't you explain the special event on Saturday night?
Yeah, Cassidy, you wanted to say something to the other point before?
Oh, I was just going to say, I think a big part of what we want to promote is not just, one big event yearly. Like, we really want to help support people who want to make it a more regular thing in their life and participate in sort of that spirit of Estuary, to have that support and continue that out. But I'll let you take the Saturday night event. Matthias.
Yeah. Exactly. So on Saturday night there is, as Cassidy said, there is a concert, and it's an interesting artist or band. It's two more V's. He's up till now he's doing his stuff only online. So he's remixing speeches of different people and putting sound under it. So it's really this. I mean, he plays guitars and bass, but he mixes it with electronic sounds and with speeches of people. And there's one speech of Jonathan Pageau, this Orthodox icon carver, called Pentecost for the Zombie Apocalypse. And it's a speech I think he gave like 5 years ago. And on Saturday night, the band will put that remix of the speech on stage for the first time. So it will be a band with one bassist and two guitar players, and also electronic sounds. And you will hear the remix speech of Jonathan Pageau in this new kind of environment. Yeah.
Good. So what happens on the first night? Is that just kind of greetings and?
Yeah, so the first night will be sort of a kickoff night. We're going to have a bonfire, and it's really designed to help people who are going to be at the conference for the 3 days to be able to meet each other and create relationships, and just casually get into the festival and find that space. So that should be really fun. We'll be roasting marshmallows, and I'm excited about it. I think it'll be a great way to start everything off. And I think it sets a tone too, where it's not just about coming and learning and getting things right in your head, or, turning stones. It's really about community and learning people, and how that can really help you then get to the place where you have a better support to do all those things of finding things that are true, explore religious questions, uncover your doubts and the why behind those things.
Matthias, why don't you explain to everyone what the actual Südstern facility is like?
Yeah, good idea. Well, the Südstern, they are not an online community. They are a real life community. And they are, I think, for 18 years now. They have a history of 18 years now. And it was started in the aughts. And basically it is this place. I mean, it's an open house, and it's hard to explain it in English. We have this concept Verein, I think, a non-profit. Yeah. So I think they are a non-profit, and it's a community of people who, most of them are Christians, but not all of them. And they have this house on the border of the town. It's really like on the one side you have the town, the other side is the field. And they have a house where they host community events, and during the week you can go there for different activities. You can go there if you have to fix your bike. They have a workshop. If you they have a board game night. They have even a football team, and they have really lots of space for people. They have also chicken on their ground. They have different projects with schools from the neighborhood, and on Sunday they also have their Sunday service. So they also do church there. And when you look at their website, you can get an idea, because it's really like they want to fill the community gap in modern societies, and they also have a policy of never locking their door. So they have all this equipment for events, like the PA and all this technical stuff, but they never lock their door. And it's also, I think years ago they also let homeless people sleep there. I mean, that's also a connection with Paul VanderKlay and his homeless history. His history of helping the homeless, not his homeless history. Yeah, and
As
so
far
I think
as we
it's
know.
yeah, exactly.
So let's say someone is in Norway right now, or Spain, or Greece, and wants to come to Landau in late August. Or maybe an American is traveling on vacation but says, hey, this might be something to add to my vacation. What kind of facilities, what can they expect as far as accommodations or food, in both within the event and in the local area?
Yeah, good question. So I mean, you have for accommodation, you have to look for yourself. So you have to find a hostel or a hotel to stay overnight. But there's also not far away. It's like by car, it's a 50-minute drive. There is a camping site. And for the food, we have planned one community dinner on Saturday and one community breakfast on Sunday. And for the other meals, we give people enough space that they can find a restaurant or a supermarket, and we will try to put more information about that on the website as well. So basically, of course, you should, I mean, Bern, you will share the link to the site. You should subscribe to the newsletter if you want to be kept up to date. But yeah, that's the basic idea.
And wasn't there an idea that for at least one meal, there would be a opportunity for some people to pay a little extra? We haven't talked cost at all yet here. Pay a little extra and to eat with the people who are the lecturers.
I can take this one. We have not started selling tickets yet, and we are still kind of working to figure out what pricing is going to be and what all of the offerings are going to be in totality. But our idea is we do want to try to offer some special value things to help cover the cost of the festival, like a speaker dinner that's reserved up to a certain amount of people. That's an extra, where you can have a personal dinner with Bern, Paul, and John, who are our main speakers, and get a little more sort of less public time with them, I suppose. And we're also need to speak with the venue, but we are looking at finding ways to provide some spots for camping potentially on the venue. And all of these things are, they're planning phases, and we're finalizing details. So like Matthias said, if you are interested and you want to know more about travel, location, costs, subscribe to the newsletter, and we'll be releasing that here in the next month.
And just to give people some idea for their own planning, because one of the things they're going to have to do if they want to come, there's only going to be, I think you're going to cap this at 100 people. So one thing that people need to do is, if they're interested in coming, they need a couple of things. One is they need to block off that time, but two, they need to get in touch with hotels or Airbnbs or whatever in the area as soon as possible, so that they can reserve these places, because if you wait till the last minute, I suspect it's going to be a little crowded. Also, can we say that the overall cost for the actual conference would be, I don't know, between $50 and $100 US currency or euros or something like that?
No, we can't say that now. No, it's this. Well, I think in the next 1 or 2 weeks we will be ready to say that, because we still have to calculate some things, and
okay.
So
they should pay attention to your newsletter.
Yeah, pay attention to the newsletter, and just for transparency's sake, any amount that goes towards a ticket goes directly to producing this festival and producing events. We're not taking money. We're not making a profit on it. We're really providing something for the community. So if you donate in any way, it's all going back to you and creating value for the community and things that you can participate in. And we know that there's a lot of people, especially in the Bridges of Meaning community, who won't be able to come but want to support the effort. And we're working on ways to, support that too and create a value exchange where you can still donate and help fund this community effort and work with you to make it happen and find a way to thank you for that belief in what we're doing.
Exactly. I mean, it's also like you have to understand that we want to do this next year and the year. So we want to make this really an institution. And if you cannot participate this year, maybe you can donate, that we can really pull together the first thing, and then we are able to make the second thing. And what is also important, that Paul and John Van Dunk are not only coming for this festival, they are coming for a whole European tour, and they need the funds to refinance this tour to cover the travel cost. And I think the whole community should really get together and support Paul and John for their tour, that they can do other tours in the future, because it really will help to get local groups started and to really get this community more into real life and to take things seriously.
Right. Very good. Well, before we get out of here, is there anything else you'd like to add or say? I will put various links below. I will get from you the basic Discord information that you can send to me, so that if anyone gets interested as a result of this, we'll have a link for that. Also a link for the website for the actual conference, and to keep up to date with newsletters, and to make your plans, and set off that time in late August to go to southern Germany. But apart from that, what else? Any last thoughts before we call it a day or an evening, as it is in some places in the world?
Well, well, thank you for having us on. We're really excited about this. And like Matthias said, this is not a one and done thing for us. We want to be able to do more events in the future. And so we appreciate the support in any way you can for that. And please subscribe to the newsletter. All of the ticket information, we're working very aggressively on it, and we plan to release that in the next 2 weeks. So be on the lookout, and we're getting information out as soon as we can.
And would I be correct in saying that there will probably be some sort of fundraising effort, actual crowdfunding, before too long here to help with the expenses?
Yeah, that should be coming out soon. We're still working on details on how exactly that's going to look and what makes the most sense for us and the people who are donating, but it's coming together very quickly. So we just want to make sure we've got it right. So we don't want to rush into something and make it harder on everybody. So we appreciate your patience, but it is coming. So be on the lookout.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, thanks, Bernd, for having us. And I think, people really should come to the festival, because I think it will be a unique thing. And I hope to see you there.
Yeah, and this really relates to not only what recently I put out some videos like the one about communes and community and stuff like that, but also just the need to bring things out of the abstraction of the internet into the more difficult reality, but the ultimately more enjoyable reality of the real world. And I appreciate both of your efforts, and I am really glad for what Paul has been doing through the Bridges of Meaning online site and the Estuary idea of bringing it. It's brought, it's just given us an opportunity to have the kinds of questions and dialogue that I think people are starving for, thirsting for. And exactly. I'm really hoping that this is not just a continuation of that, but an elaboration, a growth of that idea. So thanks for coming, and we'll see you there. Maybe we'll talk a bit more before we get there. So
We should.
take care.
Bye-bye.
And Matthias,
Bye-bye.
tschüss.
Tschüss.
Go away.
Well, I hope you found that interesting. I did. And I'll be attending. If you want to see me, come to Germany, and we can have discussion face-to-face maybe. And I know a few people from this channel have already told them that they're coming because I'm there, which, that's flattering. So why don't you consider what you'll be doing in late August? And meanwhile, thanks for showing up, for watching another Anadromous Dialogues here on the Anadromous channel. Remember, Anadromous is a word that means swimming against the stream. Thanks, and as the Georgians say, droabit.
A people without history is not redeemed from time. For history is a pattern of timeless moments.